Morning, Dr. G. How you doing?
I'm fabulous.
All right. I'm glad to start the president.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Oh, I forgot to put on there. I wear the same thing you do. I forgot to put one.
yeah, I got to call you monthly.
That's not good.
I'm on my last one.
Me too. And it's supposed to be sending me
You the chopper. Thank you. See that? Yeah. You got the soft in there. What you doing now? Get to the top? Yeah. Chopper.
Okay.
You do that?
Oh, that's me up there.
Yeah, that's what her. On the foot.
You will see. For that board.
Well, cold in here too.
I mean, no slack.
Rain.
No, they have. You already
No, they-
Well, we used to have, when I was working in the oil field, we'd take our truck and draw a big old round circle on the truck, and if a raindrop fell inside that circle, then it was raining. So we could draw a big old circle in here, and if any rain falls in that circle, it could be a rain out, but
Gotta go outside.
it's raining pretty good. How am I gonna get to my car?
1 foot at a time.
Got it, valet.
1 puddle at a time.
Well, there's this outside possibility that it may stop raining after a while. I'm not sure.
Saturday.
Did y'all hear that months and months ago, somebody went into the league and tried to throw some nasty something on the Mona Lisa? Yeah, they have a bulletproof glass that's right in front of the Mona Lisa, because the Mona Lisa is worth about $400 million, you know, so they didn't want anybody to do it. However, I don't, where do you buy bulletproof glass?
That's a good question.
Online, get them online. Yeah, yeah. Or go to the local bulletproof glass store. I suppose. I'm not too sure where it is, but we need to get one of those, because obviously some low life, no count, no good for nothing, lower than a snake's belly and a wagon rut piece of slime has defaced the portrait this morning.
I resent that. Oh, I don't know.
I want to tell you, it wasn't too good this morning, so it could be it could be it couldn't be anything but an improvement. So
That's their version of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It looks like it got a Cuban cigar.
Doing chopper.
he's in the chopper. He wants to live. Yeah. Well, we're going to get started here in a few minutes, but I want to let you guys know, and the ladies over at North, I just do not feel well again today, so I'm going back to my doctor, and this time I'm going to leave my stomach with them. You know, I'm just going to just leave it there, because I'm just not feeling well. I don't enjoy that. So I don't know how long our group is going to last this morning, but it doesn't matter. You still need to sign in, and make sure you get your name on your sign-in sheets legibly, and please sign your name in, not somebody else's. And look, we only need it signed once, okay? I've had two different things go on. I've had people who are on the HHSC sign out on tap as well. They'll sign both forms. We only need to sign the one that is for you. And I've had people sign on the same form twice. So if you're under number 4, you don't need to also be under number 8. You know, just one time. We believe you when you say, hey, I'm here. We believe you. Don't have to sign twice, you know. So don't do all those kind of crazy things, because I'm doing all kind of stuff, and I'm trying to do the things right and all of that. So we may shut down a little bit early because I'm going to go back to my doctor, and my doctor is all the way away from here. So many other places along far from here. So also this morning, everybody, we have some new people, so everybody brought their books to class, right? Did everybody have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was told this morning that we ate and then we just sat around and BS.
Pretty much.
That's what we did at my house. We ate turkey and then we went and sat down and talked a lot. Yeah, had a good time doing all of that kind of stuff. This week we're starting with physical health and in recovery. And do we know how important that is?
Sure.
Physical health is very important. We're going to talk a little bit this morning. Look, it's not going to be the best one we've ever had, I don't think. But we're going to talk a little bit about incorporating an active lifestyle into our recovery. We've talked about that a whole bunch because these stages go around pretty quickly. There are only 4 of them, and they go around pretty quickly. We don't have to stick to them, but we want to today. And sometimes this week, we're going to do my favorite class. Y'all know which one that is? None? None? That's your favorite class. None. Smoking cessation. Now, I don't know when we're going to do that, but we're going to do it at some point this week. It'll come up so that we can get outside the loop a little bit. But there's other things we're going to be talking about a little bit. So we're going to talk about developing an active lifestyle this morning a little bit. And then we may, we're going to take a break when it's time to take a break. But I'm certain that, since it's freezing cold outside and it's raining, that nobody really wants to take a break and go out on the back porch and smoke or anything like that. So, but we'll take a break anyway, and that'll be coming up pretty quick. So, if you have your book, look, we're going to be on page 21 for just a little bitty minute this morning. And guess what today is?
Monday.
What else is it?
December 1st.
December the 1st. So that means that Santa Claus is coming to town.
Yeah. You're already here.
He's already here. He said, yeah, I saw him the other day.
When you brush your teeth, in the morning you saw him.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. We went to the mall yesterday. My wife had to buy some stuff. We've got, unfortunately, I don't know if it's not. Anyway, we've got 2 young ladies in our family, and they're like 11 and 12 years old, and you got to go buy stuff for them for Christmas. And so she went to where all of the creams and all of that stuff is that girls put all over them. And she put about 9 different things on her. And one of the best things that happened to me yesterday was she said, why don't you go out in the hall and wait out there in the mall? I said, that sounds like a good idea right there. That's what that is. And so I walked by, I got out, and I told the lady when I'm leaving, I said, I'm escaping. She said, can I go with you? That place just, there's 9 million smells. And so for the next week, I'm not going to be able to tell what I'm smelling, But say it again? No, I didn't buy any, but my wife bought a whole bunch of stuff. She spent about $80 a piece on those 2 girls, But no, I didn't buy any of that stuff. I don't do that. I'm gonna buy my wife a gift card. I'm not. Anyway, we passed by Santa Claus, and Santa Claus is sitting down there, and he's waiting. And Santa Claus is on his phone, and for some reason he's sitting there. There ain't no kids around. He's got nothing to do. So he's on his phone, and that, for some reason, incensed my wife. Like, of all people, Santa Claus, he shouldn't be on the phone. Kids are going to come by and see Santa Claus on the phone. So
He was just checking his list through the dog.
Yeah, he was checking his list, see who was naughty and who was nice. Yeah.
He Rudolph was picked.
Yeah, yeah, he was out there. He was looking for something. So here's the thing. You know, when I was in my addiction, I didn't do any exercise. Biggest exercise I had was like this. You know, I did that as much as I could, but that won't get you in good shape, won't keep you in good shape. And a lot of the time, our physical health fails, and if it doesn't completely fail, it is neglected to the point that we're usually not in good shape when we finally make it to the facility and finally try to get into some type of recovery. We come dragging in the door, and usually our physical health is pretty much shot. You know, now this old boy up here used to be a real handsome guy until somebody drew something on the side of his face. So who is he?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Or his cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mikey Schwarzenegger. You know, we don't know which one it is, but he's over there and he's doing something. And so he's working on stuff like that. And it's important for us to do that. We don't need to be advanced bodybuilders. We don't have to do all of that stuff, but there is a study that says that weight training is one of the best things to do as you advance in age. The older you get, the more you ought to be in the gym because it really helps bone density. It helps build your muscles to the point where they don't atrophy, because after the age of 40, what happens? Your muscles start to atrophy. What does that mean?
Deteriorate.
Yeah, they deteriorate. They get smaller. They go away, and they do all of those kinds of crazy things. So we need to be working them. How do we know that God meant for us to exercise? Our bodies are made to move, and when you go exercise your muscle, no matter how little you are. I was at the gym the other day working my arms a little bit, and there's a guy in there. He was working. He was trying to sneak around a little because arms about that big around, just a little tiny guy, you know. And he was kind of sneaking around and all of that kind of stuff. And the gym over here, it has everywhere. There's little signs around there that says you belong. You know, nobody's going to make fun of you. All of these kinds of little things over there. But even Arnold Schwarzenegger started at that level. You know, I mean, but when you work those muscles, they're going to grow, right? And so nobody over there has the right, or nobody in any gym has the right to, you know, flex a muscle or something and think they're better than anybody else because they started at the same place. And the people who are starting at that level are going to get to that level as well. I also see a lot. I was in. It kind of reminded me. I have a friend. I have another gym that I used to go to a lot, and I have a friend over there. His name's Joe, and Joe lost about 400 pounds. And he's at the gym every day, and man, he's going and all of this kind of stuff. So if you go and do that, then your health is going to get a little bit better. Now, let me ask you this. Is everybody going to go join a gym? No. You're going to go join a gym? Good. You know, that's a good thing to do. We should. And then how many people know that there are thousands of people who have the gym cards, and they're talking about making those cards a little heavier now, because that's all they do is get that little card and they put that in their pocket. And if you get a little bit heavier card, it might help because they'll go join the gym, and that's all they ever do is join the gym. So if you join the gym and you don't go to the gym, how much good does that do? It doesn't do you any good at all. But you don't have to join the gym to get to the place where you've got a little bit of exercise going on. Get up, go do something, not in group. Not in group. We've had one guy get up and he went to exercise. He just walked off down the hallway. That's not what we're talking about. Not during group, but get up and just go walk somewhere. Go walk up and down the hall. It's raining outside. We can't go outside. And ladies, if one of those counselors come up and say, "What are you doing walking up and down the hall like this?" Tell them Dr. Garner told them to. Yeah, that's what I'm supposed, and it will help you. It will get you into some good, better shape. Let me tell you, if you do something physical that gets you into 10% better shape than you are now, is it worth it? Yeah, 10% is better than no percent. So we need to be doing something. And here's the big deal of when we feel better, we do better. Right? My boss, Mr. Farmer, called me in his office this morning and said, "I need your resume." I'm going, "Okay." My resume is at the house. He said, "No, I need it now." Well, I don't feel well. I feel like poo-poo caca. And so I went in there to do my resume. I couldn't even remember the name of my college. What? I spent a whole bunch of long time, and I can't remember the name of it. I'm going, okay, all right. And it's not because I'm getting older, smart aleck. It's because I don't feel well. I don't feel well this morning. And so, but I got it done. It all came to me, all of that kind of stuff, and I got it all done. So, but when you are feeling better, you are doing better. When we get to when we get to the place where we're in pretty good shape and we feel well, we will do all things better. And that even includes our recovery. We will do recovery better if we feel better. That's why I'm going to go to the doctor. Look at that. See, she helping that man right there get some exercise. So she got him out to class. Said, "Come on, go with me. Some exercise." So she's getting exercise, coming to the group, and she's getting him some exercise, getting him up out of group. Yeah, okay. All right. So usually, look, we're going to go through the whole gambit of things when we come into treatment. But usually, and I know when I got into treatment, my health was in pretty bad place, because I hadn't paid any attention to it at all. And I will guarantee you this: when I came in there, when I went to recovery, they said, "Look, let's get up. Where are we going? We're going to go exercise." I don't feel like you will. You will. After the first month of this, you're going to feel like doing it. You may not feel like it today, but you'll feel like it when it's over. And so, and that worked out like that. It did. And I feel better today than when I first went into recovery. Usually, when we go in, our health is in that first thing on page 21. It says what?
Physical health.
What does it say? Poor? Yeah. That's where my health was when I went in. I was in pretty poor shape. So, we're disinterested and unengaged in physical health. Now they did it wrong on here. They put interested and unengaged in physical health. Does that make sense? That does not make sense, does it? No. So it's disinterested and unengaged in physical health concerns. I'm not really concerned about my physical health at that point in time. What was I concerned about?
Drinking.
I was concerned about where my next drink was coming from, where I was going to get a little something to make me feel a little bit better, because I could feel really good in a really short period of time.
It jumped out.
It jumped right out your hands. Look at it. So, at that point, when my health was so poor and everything, I didn't have any concerns about it. I had some really poor nutrition. I grew up nutritionally disengaged. There were times in my life that I didn't have any food at all. And when I was growing up as a child, we didn't have any food. My dad was a professional man. He was a professional robber. That's what he did for a living. He robbed service stations and stuff like that. And he wasn't really good at it, so he got caught a lot. and they'd send him out to the county road. And out in Mississippi, we have a thing called the county road, and they call it the county road because it's out on the county road. And they would hook those guys together with chains and make them walk down the road and clean all the ditches and clear all of the stuff. And yeah, chain gang. And my dad was actually on one, and that was some good stuff, If they say you want to go see your dad, yeah. So we drive by, and there he is, out there doing that. So, so consequently, at my house there wasn't a whole lot of food. We didn't have a whole lot of anything. So I grew up with probably nutritionally disengaged and not in good shape. And so, we had poor nutrition. And then when I started drinking, and Daddy started us drinking pretty early, so, I got into that place where drinking was, when I first started drinking, was this thing we did. But then after a while, drinking became the thing we did every day. And we started looking for how we're going to get it done and how we're going to do all of this and where we're going to come up with our next little bit of whatever. People now pick up cans and then go sell cans and stuff. I don't know how old you are, but there was a time there wasn't any cans. They were cans, but they weren't in cans. There wasn't any sodas and stuff in cans. They were bottles. Yeah. So we picked up bottles, and you could sell the bottles, the same thing. And they were worth like 3 cents a piece.
10 cents and the
They said on the bottle.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys, they're all been bottle babies, and all did all of that kind of stuff. We had a movie theater over there in Mississippi called the Temple Theater, big old theater downtown, and they would let you come in to the Mickey Mouse deal, and Mickey Mouse would have a matinee, and the Mickey Mouse Club would do some stuff, and then they'd show a movie, and you had to have 6 or 7 bottle tops from RC Cola. Y'all remember RC?
Yeah.
What'd that stand for? Royal Crown. So the Temple would let you come in with Royal Crown. So we did that all the time. We'd sell the bottles when we could find them, and then we'd buy booze. And I had gone to the Temple Theater so drunk I couldn't see. But so a lot of poor nutrition, poor or non-existent physical activity. How many people know that going to the gym, working out really, really hard is not something you do when you're high? Not something you do when you're drunk. Not something you do when you're on something. I'm not going to want to do anything like that. Yeah, most of the time I'm going to just sit. Well, that's what I'm going to do. Or go to sleep. The drugs that I was using with alcohol, marijuana, and both of those are downers. They will pick you up. They will stimulate you for just a moment, and then they're going to bring you to a place of depression. They're going to depress your system to where your system wants to do what? Sleep. Yeah, and I've had people, and I know, look, I've done it myself. I've had dozens of people tell me, well, I can smoke and I can drink and I can still go to work. So did I. I went all the time. But I will tell you this: how much are you worth when you go to work, even just a little bit high or a little bit drunk?
Not a thin dime.
Well, you might be worth a thin dime, but that ain't what I'm paying you for. I'm paying you a whole dollar, and that's what I want out of you, is a whole dollar. But we go over there, and like you said, a dime or a nickel or something. We're not worth. We get about 10% or 15 or 30. There were times when they put me on night shift, which was a mistake. Is I'd go to work, and after about 30 minutes, I'd be drunk as a skunk. And we had some trucks out in the back. I'd go out in the back, crawl up in one of those trucks, and go sleep. And then somebody'd wake me up when it's time to go home. So, my boss would say, now, Herschel, I want you to do this. Okay. All right. Next day, man, why didn't you do that? I'd tell him, I was drunk last night. Well, he was an alcoholic too, so he covered for us. So anyway, no physical activity whatsoever. So if we at this point in our lives, and it doesn't make any difference what point in our lives we are, if we start some physical activity, no matter how light the physical activity is going to be helpful to us. Is that a correct statement?
Say it again.
Sure it is. No matter where we are in our physical abilities or anything, no matter where we are in our lives, no matter where we are in our recovery, if we start some type of physical activity, it's going to be helpful.
Well, I got a question for you.
Okay.
What if your body ache, like my knee ache and my shoulder ache? I mean, I don't know what's going on with my shoulder and my knee. But my knee, I got worse than my shoulder. And somebody said you need to let it rest and heal.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you do. I went the other day, I was working my chest and my elbow got to hurting right here. And still, when you touch it, it hurts a little bit. So what I do, when I get something hurting, I go work another body part. You have other body parts. You said your knee was hurting and your shoulder is hurting.
My shoulder's worse than my knee.
Yeah.
My shoulder and my arm.
Right.
I'm
Your
stronger
shoulder.
than my left arm.
Yeah. So do something different. If you go over there to the gym, they've got a stomach machine over there. Go get on that stomach machine. Yeah. And work. And I'm not saying you need. I'm not saying I'm not saying you're fat. You got a big old stomach poking out. I'm not saying anything like that. I will say that we know you're coming because your stomach makes it in the room before you do. But there's other things that you can work, and I think that you don't want to. I've heard a lot of guys say you need to work through an injury. You need to let your body heal if it needs to heal. You don't need to hurt yourself. That's not what the point is. If you have to slack up on some of the heavy weights, do that. Have y'all seen Arnold Schwarzenegger here lately?
Yeah, boy.
He's like in his 80s, He's not like he was when he was in his 20s, But he still goes to the gym on almost daily basis, and he works out. But when he gets an injury or something, he's going to slack off and he's going to take care of it. So we need to make sure we're not hurting ourselves when we do that. That's why we say, look, it's not about becoming an advanced bodybuilder. It's just about becoming an advanced mover somewhere. Get up, do something. We live, most of us, a sedate lifestyle. Yeah. When I come in here in the morning, and I go to my computer and I work on my computer for a couple of hours in the morning. Then I come in here and I stand in front of you guys for another couple of hours. Then I go back and I'm back in front of the computer for a couple of hours. Even on the weekend, my computer comes out and I'm working. I have counselors who are working here and I'm looking at their stuff at the house, But 99% of that is sitting on my buttocks. So we need to get up and move and do some things, and that's why I don't do as much as I don't do as much sitting as I used to because, hey, I'm getting older and I need to have some functionality as I get older, right? I used to have a guy that was in our church. He was our music minister. He's like 85 years old. And he still went to the gym on a daily basis at about 85 years old, still working out. Now, he didn't look like this guy, but he was still there and he was still working out. He was still limber and he could still do those kinds of things. So it is important for us to know that our recovery, look, now this is a bold statement. Y'all just get hold of it. Our recovery may depend on us getting some physical activity going on in our life. Because look, it is a truism when we say the better I feel, the better I'm going to be able to stay in my recovery. And the better I work my body, the harder I work my body, the more I work my body, the better shape I get into, the more I'm going to be able to stay in my recovery. When those feelings come, when those desires come, when those cravings come, if I'm in good physical shape, I can deal with them a whole lot better than someone who is not in good physical shape, right? How about somebody that's had a heart attack or two? How about somebody that's had a stroke or two? How about somebody that has epilepsy or something like that? How about multiple sclerosis? How about those kind? Those are horrible, terrible diseases. Those are bad life events that happen. Should they exercise?
Yeah.
Absolutely. The better I am physically, the better I'm going to be able to deal with whatever calamity has come upon my life. Right? I was working out with a guy. This not at this gym, but there was another gym I used to work out at years ago, and there was a guy there that had multiple sclerosis, and he could barely get around. But he would get on those machines, and they would help him get his hands on those machines, and he would work his himself out on those machines. So we can do all that stuff. But look, just getting up out of bed, walking around, and doing something is going to be helpful, right? What's one of the biggest things that we should do health-wise?
Walk.
Walking. That's great. That's fantastic. That's not the biggest thing, but it's fantastic. Walking and eating correctly, and what else?
Cardio.
Cardio stuff is great. I don't do nearly as much cardio as I ought to do. I'm always interested in building muscle. And I used to believe that cardio would rob you of that. It doesn't. You need to be able to doing some cardio and all of that kind of stuff. But if we stop smoking, that was one of the big things to do that. Because we go out there and we'll exercise, we'll do all of that kind of stuff, and then we'll go do something stupid like smoke 7 cigarettes. And that's destroying a whole lot of that stuff that we did. So there are benefits of exercise, no matter how small an amount of exercise you can do. I've had people tell me, well, I'm just in too bad a shape to work out. I'm in too bad a shape to go exercise. Okay. Is that true? Yeah, it can be. But what you can do is start moving just a little bit, and before you know it, you'll be able to move a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and before you know it, you'll be in a little bit better shape. And if you get to the place where you're in good enough shape that you can get yourself in shape, then you'll be in shape, right? All right. So look, we're going to identify the purposes of an active lifestyle. And then once we figure out there's some benefits to that, we need to plan to make it happen. Right? We need to do it. Look, we can talk about it. We can sing about it. We can write stories. We can do all of that kind of stuff about it. But if we don't do it, it's not any good to us. So we need to start doing something physical, and it's going to help us with our recovery. Physical activity and regular exercise can be an integral part of our recovery. Exercise can lead to an increased sense of accomplishment. Have you ever gone, now I'm not suggesting you do this, but have you ever gone over to the gym and watched people go in and out of the gym? It's not something that I'm a proponent of, but here's the deal. If you do that, you can see people walking in the gym that look tired and look worn out and all of that kind of stuff, carrying their gym bag. And when they come out of that place, they are walking better. They got their heads held higher because they feel good about what they've just accomplished. They feel good about themselves. They feel good about how they look, even if they don't look much better, but they feel good about it. They feel good about how they're looking and about what they've done, all that stuff. One thing is that, and y'all know this, that the body releases endorphins into your system that get you a little bit high, that just make you feel good. And that's an okay kind of high to get, right? There's nobody in the world going to tell you you can't do that. Also, at the same time, you've just accomplished something. You walk out of that place, and there's people sitting in their cars out there watching you walk in and out, and they're not doing anything, and you've just accomplished something that they're having a problem doing. All right, so it gives you a sense of accomplishment. I have done something. What if I get a sense of accomplishment because I've done something? What else will that do? What else does that help?
Self-esteem.
Self-esteem. I can feel better about who I am. Look, one of the things that addiction does is steal my self-esteem. You know, we all have self-esteem. I had a guy tell me one time, well, I ain't too worried about that. I ain't got no self-esteem. We all have self-esteem. It's either we have high self-esteem or we have low self-esteem. And I will tell you that my addiction took me to a place of very low self-esteem. You know, I'm worthless, no count, no good for nothing, thief, and a liar. And the reason I told myself that was because I was no count, no good for nothing, a thief, and a liar. That's who I was, right? And, you know, would I steal your stuff? Yeah. Sure, because I needed it, right? I had to sell it or trade it. Sometimes, lots of times I traded it. You know, there's actually people who will tell you what they need. You know, I have this that I'll give you, but, you know, I need a toaster. What? What kind of toaster you want? I'll go shopping for you. I know how to get that. So yeah. So my self-esteem is down here. So everything that I could, one of the things I did was stop stealing. I don't steal stuff anymore. Stop lying. I'd steal whatever. Well, I stole my mama's jewelry. All my mama's jewelry. And I will tell you this, my mama didn't have a whole lot of jewelry. And she's poor, poor, poor. The stuff that she did have was stuff somebody else gave her. Yeah, you know. And so that was. Did I replace it? No, she did. Now I waited around till she died, and then you know she didn't need it anymore. Yeah, I told you I wasn't much of a. You know, I was way down there. So it can lead to an increased sense of accomplishment. That was nasty of me, wasn't it? That was nasty. That was nasty. Yeah, that was nasty. Yeah, that was bad. And you know, and I really look. I still. That was 100 years ago. I still feel bad about it because I did. I stole her jewelry, and then I got what I needed from what I did with that jewelry, and you know, and I stole my sister's piggy bank. And then my sister said, you know, my sister told me that, you know, okay, my piggy bank, I know you got, I said, no, I didn't get your piggy bank. And so I lied to her. And then I searched the house with it. I looked everywhere. I'm saying, you know, I thought I saw it under there. I thought maybe it had fallen down and got underneath there, and I was going to crawl. I crawled under there, and I said, it wasn't under there.
But you all while you knew where it was.
I knew it wasn't under there. Yeah, it was gone. It'd been busted up, broke up, all of the money got out of it and stuff bought with it, you know. So, yeah, I knew it wasn't going under there. So it can lead to I needed some help with my low self-esteem, so that's one of the places I started. It's always, and we know it leads to better health. It's going to get me to a place where I am in better health. It's going to have, like you said already, improved self-esteem. You know, I will tell you, one of the problems, you know, as we get into our recovery is looking back over the things that we've done. And we know some of the things, and we know a lot of the things that we've done are things that are not things that we should have done. And so our self-esteem is in the pot. But also, while our self-esteem is in the pot, our health is in the pot right along with it. So I can build up my health, and as I build up my health, look, a lot of the times those people we've hurt, are they going to forgive us?
Yeah, majority of the time they will.
Yeah.
They won't.
A lot of the times they will, but there's people in my life that I can't. They'll never be back in my life. Just the way that is. You know, there's some things you can do to some people that they're never going to ever forget. So that stuff we're going to have to give up. But the places where I've hurt my health, then I can do something about that, right? Yeah, I can do something about that. So It's going to help my health. It's going to improve my self-esteem. It increases my endorphins. And look, I want my endorphins increased because what does endorphins do?
You high.
Get you high. That helps your, that's your joy juice in your brain. And so, that's your body saying, okay, that makes you high. And anytime you're doing something that you enjoy, it's going to release some of those endorphins. Eating ice cream. How many people like ice cream? I see you, ma'am. Yeah, all of those people who like ice cream, eating ice cream is going to give us a little bit of an endorphin high. How about, sex? Sex will give you an endorphin high. If indeed you like sex, it will give you an endorphin high. If you like ice cream while having sex, that'll give you an endorphin
Come on,
high. Well, I've not done that, but I can imagine it. And all of those other kinds of things. It's going to exercise, trying to make yourself better will always give you that type of high. Y'all remember when you got out of high school or when you got promoted in job, you got all of those things that make you feel better about yourself. I can remember when I was in the military and I stayed a certain rank for a long time. Because I wasn't a very good soldier. That's why, I stayed and I did the whole in a long time. And then finally I got promoted, and I'm going to guarantee you when I was walking back.
Was it private or corporate? Was it private? Was you a private a long time or corporate a long time?
No, I never would. No. I was a private, and then I was a private first class, and I was a private first class for a long time. And then I made specialist, and then they changed my rank from specialist. Yeah, I made E4 specialist, and then they changed my rank from specialist to corporal, and then I went corporal to sergeant, and all of those promotions, it made me feel good. And then my wife said, "We're getting out."
Who said that?
My wife. My wife liked to do certain things, like eat and pay the bills. Back when I was in the Army, they was no money. It was just $120 a month.
You said kidding me.
Yeah, that's what I went. Man, it's 72. That was a long time ago.
That was a lot of money back then. Huh?
No, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was more than 120. Nowadays, in the military, they make a little chunk of change. So, it increases our endorphins, which act as the body's natural antidepressant. I'm going to tell you, if you're out of shape, and you're out of shape, and you go take a shower, and you look in the mirror, and you're out of shape, that's depressing. You look bad, you feel bad, you are bad, you act bad, you can't have a good attitude, all of that kind of mess. You start losing some weight if you need to do that. You start gaining some weight if you need to do that. You start getting your body hardened up and stuff like that. You feel much better about who you are. And it takes that depressive situation away from you, right? For the most part, it will help you. I've had people tell me, people who are depressed, and we used to have our own facility. My wife and I was called LHG Educate, and we would have people come in that were depressed, that had anxiety, and we dealt with all of those folks. And one of the things on the treatment plan was exercise. And I've had dozens of people tell me, "Well, that ain't going to help. I ain't going to do it." You're right. If you don't do it, it ain't going to help. But if you'll do it, so you need to leave. What do you mean? Well, if you're not going to do the treatment plan, it's a little bit different here. If you're not going to do the treatment plan, you just need to go because this is the treatment plan. Everybody that did it, it helped. Everybody. 100%. Did it heal them completely? Not all the time. Sometimes, yeah, but not all the time. Sometimes if I'm depressed 50% of the time, that's a horrible life. But if I do something that makes me depressed 20% of the time, is that progress? Yes. Absolutely. It's fantastic. I can feel better about myself 20% of the time more. That's 70% of the time I'm feeling better about myself, and the 30% of the time I can talk about. We can do something a little bit different on those times. Anxiety, it helps a lot on anxiety. My wife suffers from high anxiety. Guess what she did to help that high anxiety? First, she went to the doctor. They gave her all kind of pills and medicine and all that kind of stuff. Didn't help much at all. Now, she's exercising. And that's the treatment plan that she was given. So she's exercising. She has her balance back. The anxiety is almost gone. Just from plain exercising. It shows you that we need to do that. So it activates the body's natural antidepressants, depressants. Abusing drugs and alcohol damages the body's ability to feel pleasure. We know that, right? Because it gets us to that place of what? Anybody remember?
Drunkenness.
Anhedonia.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that word?
Right.
And I taught, and then I ain't never heard that word. I never heard it. Never. Okay, anhedonia is the place where you get to that level you can no longer feel pleasure. And so drug and alcohol abuse takes us to that place of anhedonia where we can't feel any pleasure at all. Exercise helps to bring that back. It's going to do some stuff. Increasing activity and exercise can be a way to increase endorphins in our central nervous system. That not only makes us feel better, it makes us feel more balanced and healthier. So it is, and it's not just a nice thing to do. It's not just something that we ought to do. It's not something that's going to be, going to help us in the long run. It's something that is imperative that we do. What does the word imperative mean? Somebody tell me.
It's like must do.
A must-do thing. Something I absolutely have to do. It's kind of like breathing, right? It is imperative that you continue to breathe, right? Yeah. If you don't, you will die. And if you don't believe that, well, we can check it out, right?
No. Don't want to check that out.
I had a lady bring her baby boy to me and say, "Hey, you got to help me with this kid." I said, "Okay, beat him." She said, we don't whip our child. I said, "Okay, well, that's a personal choice, but I think we ought to do this." She said, "Well, he's going to die." I said, "Well, why is he going to die?" She said, "Well, he holds his breath, and someday he's just going to hold his breath till he dies." I said, "No, it's impossible. You can't. You have what's called a limbic system, right? And your limbic system is not only your pleasure system, it's that ancient brain of yours that tells you when to breathe. That's why you drown underwater. Because your limbic system is going to say breathe, and you will breathe. And so you can hold your breath, but at some point you're going to take a breath. So let the little sucker sit there and hold his breath. And then after, 30, 45 minutes, probably won't take that long. 2 or 3 minutes, he's going to breathe. Because you cannot hold your breath and commit suicide. So it's going to help that, causing you, it increases endorphins to the central nervous system, causing you to feel better, more balanced, and healthier. So there's some things that we can do that's going to help us get to that place where we can have a better recovery and a better lifestyle and all of that kind of stuff. So when going through treatment for substance abuse, usually we have something else going on as well. That's called dually diagnosed, right? Now, not everybody, but a bunch of people have a dual diagnosis. That means I have an addiction, and then I have some other type of diagnosis, right? I can remember back, I don't remember what year it was, about 2003 or 2004, when I was at the prison working. All we had was people who had addiction problems. We only had people who had drug and alcohol problems. And then at some point, they came in and said, you're going to start receiving dually diagnosed individuals. That scared us to death. We never done that before. We didn't have any. Our license doesn't go that level. We can't deal with those people. And then we were trained that whatever diagnosis that you have, if it's a dual diagnosis, we can deal with it because whatever alcohol and drugs are contributing to that, then we can deal with that portion of that. So, this exercise is going to help us with that. Yes.
On that dual diagnosis, I get confused with that and holistic approach.
Mm-hmm.
Can you clarify that for me?
Well, dual diagnosis means that you have an addiction, whatever that addiction, you're addicted to alcohol or methamphetamines, and you have schizophrenia or bipolarism. That's a dual diagnosis. A holistic approach means that we're going to treat the whole body. And that's what we're trying to do here. We want to treat the client physically. We want to treat the client mentally. We want to treat the client spiritually. That's what a holistic approach is. We're going to treat everything. And if we're doing all of that, look, here's the deal. It used to be we just treated for the drug and alcohol abuse. We get you off drug and alcohol abuse or off drugs and alcohol, and you still have a problem with bipolarism or you have a problem with schizoaffective disorder, and you leave from here and that problem hasn't been addressed, then you still have that problem. You're not going to be out. You're not going to be able to stay out there long in your recovery because you got this other thing going on, or there's this spiritual problem in your life, and you need to have that addressed, and you haven't addressed that. You don't know. You haven't connected with a higher power. And you go out there and you're still all by yourself with all of this other stuff. So the holistic approach means we're going to touch on everything, right? And that's what we need, because you're not going to get into recovery leaving something out there untouched, right? That happened all, and that just gave me an opportunity to talk to them.
So holistic approach really is more than dual diagnosis because it's real spiritual too.
Yeah, the holistic approach means everything. We're going to touch on everything. And that's what, and I'm hoping you notice that's what we do here.
Yeah.
We have counselors, the guys that live back there. We're all about drugs and alcohol. And pretty much what we've been trained for. We got counselors that way or therapists that way. They're about mental health issues. They're not necessarily about drugs and alcohol. These guys, that's their whole training. These guys, their whole training is everything else. And then we have the spiritual approach that comes from everybody. Because we're all spiritual in nature. So there's a whole bunch of stuff we want to look at. We want to, when going through treatment for substance abuse and mental health issues, exercise can serve a wide variety of useful purposes. Okay? So exercise is something that's very important.
Payback. The big payback.
He started turn around, come back in here and try a little bit of my honor. But so there's some things we're going to be looking at, some of this stuff that's helpful to us, and that's all we're going to do in the second half of this is just look down through some of the things, how that exercise is going to help us. We're going to take a good long break because I don't feel well. So good. We'll be back at about 15 after. That gives us 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Thumbs down.
Dr. Goff, can you tell me how to spell that anatonia?
What is it? Anhedonia?
Okay, how do you say that on
A-N-H-E.
A-E?
No. A-N-H-E and E
N-E-H-E.
D-O-N-I-A. Anhedonia.
Okay. And is anxiety considered a mental issue? You said schizophrenia or something else. Never mentioned.
Anxiety is a mental health issue.
Yeah, I'm a mental health issue.
Yes, you are a mental health.
Yes, I am. I know it.
You are one, yes. Yes,
I don't want to be one. I want to be two.
yeah. Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
Yes.
Oh, you right.
Jim, Monday.
How you doing? Okay.
I go to
Yeah. Oh, no, Walmart run. Will be Friday?
in
Yeah. Cough drops ain't gonna do you no good in your pocket.
Huh?
Cough drops ain't gonna do you no good in your pocket.
Oh, I'm wearing. I'm wearing.
Use that stuff, man. But it'll get out quick. Put them in that hot water. Put that thing. I feel like a new man today. she's.
I got to sign anything?
Hold on a second. Wait a second.
Microwave. TV.
Stove.
Eggs in the microwave. Chicken on the barbecue bed. Might be the guy in the office.
Oh, definitely gotta be in.
Oh, they got it.
I know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're a low hold on. Free.
You get any of that?
You know,
What did you call me?
she was looking for you. Hold on.
Well, gentlemen, we got it. Well, I think it's gonna rain.
Not today.
Thank you, God.
Gully. Right. All righty then. Good long break. We're gonna get another here pretty quickly. You know when you're feeling bad, how you hope you're gonna get to feeling better? Yeah, didn't work out for me. I was hoping I was gonna get to feeling better because I enjoy doing this kind of stuff, and I said, man, that's gonna get my endorphins to struggling and get them to working out pretty well, and I'll get to feeling a whole lot better. But my brain released the endorphins, they started running out my nose.
Did you catch them?
I did. They're on a booger in there, and after a while, I'm going to auction them off.
Oh, you're trying to go back, girl.
That's not nice. All right, so look, we were talking about we're going to get going, and I don't know how long we're gonna keep this going, but however, it's going to count. So we're having a good group. Any group that counts is a good group. So why are we talking about exercise and getting into shape and all of that kind of stuff in a treatment program?
Feel better.
Yeah, and when we feel better, what happens?
You do better.
We do better. When we, and the gentleman said, so we can feel better, and when we feel better, we do better. And we look better, and we act better, and here's the deal, we are better. It's easier for us to be nice, kind, sweet, and good people when we feel like it. Right now I don't feel like it. That's why I'm being so nasty and ugly and all of that kind of stuff, because I just don't feel like it. But here's the deal. As we get ourselves into better health, that gets us to a place where we can deal with our recovery better. Because I will tell you this, and I'm sure that you know this, when we're in recovery, life continues. Life continues. It keeps going. One of the things that we can rest assured is that crap happens. Stuff happens. Life happens. People die. Right? We don't always like it when people die, but they do. Other people don't necessarily die, but they leave. Stuff like that happens. Sickness happens. There's things that happen. There's calamities that come upon us. If we are in better shape, we can deal with those things on a much higher level than if our physical health is in the body, right? If I feel good and all of that kind of stuff, and something happens to my car, the other day my son's car went belly up. He had an old car. He and I both, we just like old cars, and so we buy old cars to drive. My car now is 16 years old or 11. But his car was a little newer than mine. I think his was 14, 15, something like that. And the alternator went out on it. So I went and got another alternator, and he got another battery. And then with all of that stuff, it did the same thing again. So instead of fixing it, somebody had wrecked it for him. Somebody ran into the side of it. So he decided he's going to buy him a new car, and stuff happens. And so he's not in really good shape. So being in not really good shape, it hit him a whole lot harder than it hit somebody that would be in good shape. Because if you're in good shape, whatever happens, you can deal with it better because the lines of your endorphins are open and you can do all sorts of things better. Now, we got a whole pot load of things that are benefits of being in better shape. So we're going to look at that just a little bit. We'll read this again. We go through treatment for substance abuse and mental health issues. Codependency. That's not codependency. What do I mean to say?
Dual diagnosis.
Dual diagnosis. That's what I meant to say. Codependency, completely different. Exercise can serve a wide variety of useful purposes, and those purposes include some of these other things. And look, let me share this with you. These are very simple things, obvious things that we know, right? So that means that we may not have to spend the rest of the day on these things, but we're just going to go through them really quickly. And these are all good things that happen when we get in shape. And all of them are byproducts of getting into good physical condition. Here's the deal. The reason we're concerned, and we've said it, we'll say it 3 or 4 more times, the reason we're concerned with getting into good physical condition is because it helps me in my recovery. It helps me in my recovery. That's the deal. It has been proven that a man gets, or a woman gets, exactly what they want out of life. If we say to ourselves, my greatest goal and the one thing in my life that I want to get is to be 2 inches taller. Am I going to be able to do that?
High shoes.
Why not? I can get some of them shoes. I can do something to get to be 2 inches taller. But I'm going to research it. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do it. So here's the thing. I've got a couple of things in my life. My number one goal, the number one thing that I want in my life is to get closer to my God. That's the number one thing for me. The number 2 thing for me is to be in my recovery on the day I die. I may die today. I feel like I might, and I may not until tomorrow afternoon at 2. I may not die, and I'm planning on living until I'm 100 years old, right? So I'm going to live to 100 years old. If I die when I'm 100 years old, my goal is to be in my recovery, right? I'm not relapsing. I'm going to be in my recovery at 100 years old, right? So any little thing, if I'm going to get what I really want, then I'm going to get closer to my God. I'm going to do that. That's going to happen. It's happening already. The number 2 thing, I'm going to be in my recovery for the rest of my life. I'm going to do what it takes to stay in my recovery. I hear a lot of people tell me, oh, yes, that's my mainest thing in my life. I'm just going to stay in my recovery. I'm not going to relapse. Well, don't go back around old people, places, and things. So, well, I can't help that. I'm going to go back to my Aunt Myrtle. That's where I'm going to be living when I leave here, because Aunt Myrtle does. She puts a little snuff up her nose, and then on the other side, she puts a little cocaine up her nose. I know that, and I ain't going to get near neither one of those sides of her nose. So you don't really. That's not your main goal, because if that was your main goal, you'd forget where Myrtle lived. You wouldn't be going back around Myrtle. So exercise is going to help me just a little bit, maybe not 90%, maybe 13%, but it's going to help me some in my recovery. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. It's going to help me in my recovery. Right? So here's some of the other things. These are periphery things. That means over on the side thing. But these are some things that you're getting into doing some exercise and stuff is going to help us. This is real simple. We're going to get in better physical shape. You're just going to be in better physical shape. And if you're in better physical shape, you just feel better. You feel better. How about if I'm in really, really bad health, I'm in really, really bad physical shape? Any improvement is what? An improvement. Any improvement is an improvement. Yeah, it is. Any little bit. If I'm good, I'm so bad off. If you can do 10%, that's a whole lot better than nothing. So do something. Second thing is, look, it can help you lose weight. I can tell you, I have a friend who works out every day of his life. He don't do a lot. He does work out. He'll work with the weights and stuff like that. But there's this one machine over there at that little gym that's just you sit in it and you just do that. You ride, you drive it. I don't know. You pedal it, and he pedals the snot out of that thing. I mean, he'll go in. The gym opens at 5:30. He'll go in with me at 5:30. I'll work out for an hour. He gets on that thing and he starts pedaling that thing at 5:30. When I leave from there at about 6:30, that sucker's still pedaling. And I don't know how long he stays, but he stays. Like I said, he lost 300-400 pounds. And most of it was from exercising. And so, he's over there doing all that stuff. So it will help you lose weight. Sometimes you have to go above and beyond and do some other stuff. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, you have to do something else. If you're obese or something like that, you may have to go get one of those tummy tucks, or you may have to go do something else. I know a guy that had his jaws wired shut. That's somebody that really has an addiction to food. Wire your jaw shut and stuff like that so that you won't eat. But exercise, even if you have to do something that extreme, exercise will help you lose weight. And not look. I used to have years and years ago, and it lasted about 10 minutes. I had a weight loss company years and years ago. And I've had people tell me, that don't work for me. Well, we want you to look, here's your exercise plan, here's your diet plan. We want to see you in 6 weeks. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to buy that because that ain't going to work for me. Okay. It will work. If you diet and exercise, you will lose weight, and you will feel better. It also increases your stamina. What is stamina? Energy, ability to continue. You can get up and stay up. I've had people, I know that a lot of people don't have a lot of good stamina. I can tell, I point them out in my group because they go to sleep in 30 seconds. Sit down, I said, man, I didn't know I was that boring. People will go and they'll come, they'll bring all of their stuff and they bring it to group and they'll sit down, and when their butt hits the seat, their head hits the table. Boom, whop, And so, don't have much stamina at all. I don't have the stamina I used to have, and right now, my stamina is shot. After our first session, I went in and sat down in my chair in there, and I was tired. I'm worn out. What am I doing? Nothing but talking. And so, whatever's got a hold of me, it has robbed my stamina. But if you go and you work out, you have no stamina, you have no staying power whatsoever. If you go over there and work out today, if you start walking up and down the hallway, y'all remember Mr. Gold? Who could ever forget Mr. Gold? When I lived to be that 100 years old, just before I passed away, I'm going to say, I remember Mr. Gold. And I ain't never going to forget the man. But he would walk this place, man. He was walking all the time. And I'm going to tell you, if you got a microscope and looked all over his body, what are you not going to find? Fat. Ain't no fat. Wasn't no fat on Mr. None. He's one big old, just a big muscle, And so it worked. So he had a lot of stamina, because he would make 3 or 4 circuits while I was out there talking to my wife. So he was in. I don't know if he was in great shape, but I will guarantee you, no fat on him, and he had a lot of stamina. So it will help me in my stamina. It will also add strength to your body. It's important to be strong. Yeah. It's important to be strong. Not just guys. It's important for girls to stay strong. I will tell you that I think ladies are stronger than guys most of the time. Not just lifting stuff and all of that, but if you look at a lady that has a baby, that's kind of connected to, and they got that thing all the time. And a girl can change a diaper without retching. That takes a lot of strength. I've had to do that, but it's nothing. So it adds a lot of strength. It can also alleviate. What does alleviate mean? Get rid of, take away, remove. It can alleviate a lot of physical tension in your body. A lot of us have tension. Where does tension come from? A lot of the time from stress and anxiety. And look, when we first get into our recovery, we get a lot of tension, we get a lot of stress, we get a lot of anxiety going on. Exercise will help get that out of your body. It will take the tension out of your body. You will feel better because of that, if you go get that tension out of your body. It's going to, if you play a sport, look, this one doesn't work with me a whole lot, but if you play a sport, this will help you play that sport better. Y'all hearing music? Think the lights are flickering?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our lights are flickering. My wife showed me a light that was flickering in our hallway. She said, look, the light's flickering. I said, don't worry about it, honey. I'll fix that. So I got a ladder, went up there and took that bulb out. And now the light don't flicker. Can't see as well, but the light don't flicker. Yeah. So, all right, look. It makes you, it will help you feel better about yourself. Let me ask you this. Is there anybody in here or over there who feels a little bit down on themselves? Have you ever felt a little bit down on yourself? I have felt, I have looked at myself and looked at a pretty worthless individual. Somebody who wasn't able to take care of my family, wasn't able to pay my bills, wasn't able to buy groceries. I'm hungry. I remember being at my aunt's house and just going through my aunt's house because they all had food, looking for food, and there wasn't any. I found out later on in life that she had hidden all the food from me because she didn't want me eating her food. I'm a worthless individual. She didn't want me eating her food, so I don't think she was my real aunt. I think she was one of them old ladies that your mama called your aunt because why would your aunt not that would be terrible, but she did. But it'd make you feel better about yourself. Look, here's the deal.
Did you steal from?
Only when I could.
That's what she did.
Yeah, only when I needed to. So you don't understand. I only ever stole from anybody when I needed it. Like when I didn't have the money to buy some booze and some drugs and something, that's the only time I did that. And I hadn't done that in a minute.
That ain't very long.
Yeah, I don't want to point anybody out, but there's some judgmental people off in there.
No, I'm asking you questions.
I feel judged.
No.
So I do look. I'm going to tell you, I feel a little bit better about myself because not only do I exercise, but here's the thing: I do feed my family. And I do take care of my bills, and I do work every day and all of that kind of stuff. So I feel a little bit better about myself because I did what? I made a few changes in my life. Yeah, I made a few changes in my life, and God helped me make some great big changes in my life. And so things are different for me now than they used to be. I can guarantee you can put your money and your wallet and your gold teeth and whatever else right there on that table and leave them, and I'm the only person around, and unless I need it, I ain't gonna steal it. I'm not going to steal it. I am funny about money. I will walk 5 miles to make sure you get your dollar back. I don't want anybody else's money. And there's no way, no way. And God dealt with me about that hundreds and hundreds of years ago. If I find a dollar, I'm much, rather you get it back if it's yours. I want you to have it. I want you to get it because I am not um, a uh, um, a slave to money. You know, the Bible says you can't follow God. You can't honor God and money. You can't do that. So it says you can't be a follower of God or money. What is it?
The love of money is the root of all evil.
No, it doesn't. That's not what it says.
What does it say?
It says the love of money.
That's what I said.
Money. Is that what you said?
The love of
I didn't
money.
hear that part. But money is simply a tool. But if you love money so much that you'll steal it, you'll do anything you have to do to get it, that's when the love of money becomes, it becomes the root of evil. So you don't, I'm not saying I don't need money, but God has blessed me, and I'm going to bless other people. And if I find some money, I'm gonna make sure you get. If I can find you, you will get it back.
I think I left some money in my pocket.
Yeah, there's some money in my pocket. I'm sure belongs to you. I'm gonna get that back to you. So it reduces the likelihood of physical illness. That's a big deal. When people when it gets wintertime and stuff like that, people have all these colds and all of that kind of stuff. I have people tell me every time I get colds, every time they come around, I get the COVID-19 all the time. Look, if you're healthy, that stuff passes you by a lot of the time. Right? If you're in really good shape, the people who are in really good shape are walking around while you're hanging out in the bed because we are in poor shape. If we're in poor shape, it makes it easier for those diseases to get on us, right? So we need to get in better shape, understanding that I'm going to be, when all of those diseases come, I'll be a little more resistant to them. And it's better. Look, if you can only be 5% more resistant to catching something, that's a good deal. I want to be 5% more resistant, right? I don't want stuff. I don't know what's going on with my belly right now, but I guess I need to go work out. Huh? It improves your mood. Have you ever seen anybody in a real bad mood? I see people in bad moods all the time. I had a lady come busting into my office this morning. I won't tell you who she is. But she come busting into my office because we're supposed to have a meeting at 8 o'clock every morning. And I was 2 minutes late to the meeting. So she came in, busted into my office, and it's 8:02. Okay, you need to go work out, right? But this will improve your mood. It makes you feel better, not only about yourself, but about other people. You can feel, if you feel good about yourself, you can feel good about other people. It's hard for me to feel good about other people when I don't feel good myself. So that's why I don't like anybody in here today, because I don't feel good. All right, so here's strengthening your immune system. Think about that. That's a very important thing. If just the act of exercising, going lifting weights, running around the building, doing some push-ups, doing whatever, strengthens your immune system, helps you to fight off these diseases. That's why when you are in good shape, you're less likely to catch a disease because your immune system has been strengthened. That makes it really important for people who have some of these dire diseases to exercise. People who have HIV, stuff like that, should they exercise? Absolutely. They should be fanatically exercising because it helps their immune system, which is being destroyed by that disease. So they should be over there fighting back a little bit. So it creates an energy boost. Somebody said earlier that you get more energy. The more you do, the more you can do, right? More you do, the more you can do. So the more you exercise, the more exercise you'll be able to do, and the more you exercise, the more your energy level will be, and you'll want to do it. It also makes you a positive role model for other people. We're not the world's best role models, right? We're not.
Yes. No.
We're not. We haven't been. We haven't been. However, that doesn't keep us from being role models. I saw an interview on television one time where this guy he was something, a football player probably or something, and he had gotten caught for using drugs or something. And they asked him that question, how does this affect you being a role model? And he said, man, I ain't never asked to be nobody's role model. I don't want to be a role model. Well, we do that as parents sometimes. We do that as friends sometimes. We do that as people. I don't want to be. Look, you can't opt out. You are one. Yeah, everybody, you are somebody's role model. Somebody looking at you and saying, that's who I need to be. Somebody's looking at you and saying, that's what I'm going to do. Unfortunately, a lot of times, when our kids look at us, they see us cussing, they see us smoking, they see us using drugs, and they're going to do the exact same thing. That's what you're teaching them is the right thing to do. If daddy does it, it must be right. If mama does it, it's just got to be right. Mama wouldn't do that if it wasn't right. So smoking 6 packs of cigarettes a day must be the right thing to do. I've had a lot of people down through the years tell me, well, I don't want my children to do what I do. Well, then cut it out. Because you're their role model. If you don't want them to do it, don't do it. If you continue to do it, they're going to do it. I can guarantee it. Now, having said that, let me say that there are outliers. There's always that one that's going to be a super smart kid or something and look at you and say, I don't want to be like that sucker, and not do it. But even if they don't like you, don't love you, had enough of you, they still wind up doing the same crap you did, and they'll tell their children same thing you tell them. What did you tell your children? Don't do what I do. Yeah, absolutely. Don't do what I do. Do what I tell you to do. That don't work. They learn now what they're supposed to tell their children. They say, don't you do what I do. You do what I tell you not to do. All right? That's what they'll do. You had a question, comment, or snide remark, didn't you? Go ahead.
Say they pick up what we do. Why some of us see us work our whole life don't never want to go. Why don't we start select? Select what they want to pick up.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Like we say, like we have bad habits, our kids pick
right.
them up. But what about we might have bad habits, but we go to work every day and they grow up and don't want to work.
Right. He said that, what about the good habits that we have? Some of the kids, look, they will pick up the good habits as well. And some of the time, though, our bad habits trump our good habits. They do. Because here's the deal. I'm drinking, smoking, and I'm in the bars all week, but I'm at work all week long. It's called a functional alcoholic or a functional addict, and they exist. So is my goal for my kids that they be a functional alcoholic? No. I don't want my kids to think that, look, being a functional alcoholic is crappy. There's no functional alcoholic that's happy. There's no functional alcoholic that has the best life they could. If they're a functional alcoholic, I'm drinking every day, but I'm still going to work. I'm spending $20,000 a year on booze and drugs. What? We don't want that for them. I would assume we don't. I have seen people on Facebook with their 2-year-old helping them smoke marijuana and stuff. So some people want their kids to be drug addicts. What are they called? Idiots or foolish people and stuff like that. Yeah. So reducing boredom, exercise will help reduce the boredom that we get into during treatment and in early recovery. Because that's one of the biggest reasons people relapse. When people relapse and I'm talking to them, so why did you relapse? I got bored. There's nothing to do. We're doing the same thing we were doing before we got into recovery, but the difference is we're not high or drunk. So the thing that used to be fun to us is not fun to us because I'm not on my drug. So exercising, getting the endorphins going, doing those kinds of things reduces that boredom. It increases positive feelings. We just kind of talked about that already, but I feel better about myself because I'm doing something for myself. It provides a healthy distraction when I get to craving and junk like that. Exercise can be a distraction. Sometimes I need a distraction. It helps me to manage temptation. It helps me to manage my craving. It adds structure to my recovery program. Right at this point in time, my goal is to go to the gym 3 times a week. I don't always make it. Last week, I didn't go to the gym once. It was a tough week. I didn't make it one time. I haven't felt well in a couple of weeks, but I just wasn't feeling well. And then there was Thanksgiving and all of that kind of stuff, so I just didn't make it. It adds structure to that recovery program because I have to go at a certain time and do certain things. There's one guy over there that's got his workout program on his phone or something, and he carries it around with him all the time. So he has it all structured, and that's a good plan because it gives you something to do. It boosts your motivation. If I go back to using drugs, then this part of my life is going to fail, so it helps me. Helps me to let off some steam. I can get out there and do something that helps me let off all of that steam that I get built up, and I want to yell at other people. Instead of that, I can go work out. Makes me feel a little more accomplished. I've done something. Helps me to manage my emotions better. I have a lot of people who have anger issues. When you feel yourself getting angry, go get angry at the iron, right? Get out there and walk it off. Do something. It helps us when we feel like we're regaining control over my life. I'm doing something that I want to do, and I'm in control of my life at that point in time. It builds better self-awareness. Helps me reach a fitness goal where I can get to a better place in my life, and it reduces the risk of relapse. And that's why we're doing it, because it reduces the risk of relapse. Staying away from old haunts and previous hangouts, it helps us not to go to those places because I'm doing other things. It helps me gain self-acceptance. This is who I am. This is what I can do. It increases my confidence. People will surprise themselves. I've had a lot of guys go work out with me, and they say, "Well, I can't lift that kind of weight." And so we don't ever overload anybody, but when you put them under a weight, they'll surprise the heck out of themselves. Most people can lift 100 pounds. So most people can do that. And then there's people who can take 100 pounds, throw it through the roof, But 100 pounds is a good weight. Most people can lift 100 pounds, right? Can you lift 100 pounds?
No, I got something to tell you.
Oh.
Hey, there's a guy I seen on my phone months ago. He threw 35 pounds up in the air, and it came right in the leg.
Yeah. Yeah. He was saying, don't throw the weights in the air. Don't do that. Yeah, I saw a guy on Facebook the other day, and he had it up. It was a little bit heavy, and it went like that. He didn't have it secured on that side. And all of them went down that way, and then it went down that way. What a lot of people don't do, you go over there and you see a guy with 25 pounds on one side, 25 pounds on the other side. What's that? How much that weigh?
80.
80.
You got to count through the bar.
You have to count that bar. A lot of people don't count the bar. Count the bar. So that's about 95 pounds. The bar is 45 pounds. So you got a 45-pound bar and then 50 pounds. That's 95 pounds. So you know that. I've seen.
Don't the bar weigh different bars weigh different though, right?
Yeah.
Usually, yes, of course they will, but usually the normal bar, the normal solid bar weighs 45 pounds. The little gym I go to over in Anahuac, they bought a set of weights over there that the bar is hollow. All of those, what do you think? Those bars are all bent and tore up and everything else. And so I don't know what they weigh. I weighed them one time. They weigh like 9 pounds or something like that. They're worthless. They're garbage. You go over here, the bars are 45 pounds. The ones that I was at another bar down somewhere, and in that gym, the weight.
You just told us
I said bar, but I was talking about the bar. Those bars at that gym, the weight is stamped on the end of the bar, and those bars were 45 pounds. So most of them are 45 pounds. So you got to add that, but make sure what do you do if it's not stamped on there? Weigh it.
Use it anyway.
Use it anyway, but go weigh it. Go get on the scale, weigh that stupid bar. It's important for me to know how much weight I'm pushing up. I've seen kids go under there and put a couple of 45 pounds on each side of it. They're looking at that 45 pounds and, hey, that's 90 pounds. I got this. And when they pull that little deal off, it falls on them. You got to have 5 people help them pick it up because that's a little bit more than 45 pounds. So just and be careful because and most of the time when I see people hurt themselves in the gym, it's big guys. Big guys. Saw a guy on Facebook, I didn't see him for real, blew out his whole pec muscle. He had like 600 pounds. Okay. I will tell you, I do not bench press 600 pounds. I don't do it.
What do you think?
When I have a deal, a trophy for. I have a trophy. Let's see where his peanut brain is. I am so sorry. I have a trophy where I was bench pressing 300, but that was a long. Right now, I don't try to get anything out of it. About $200, yeah. About $200. Yeah, I bench press $200 all the time. It increases your confidence. It provides a positive outlet for stress. It establishes a healthy routine to use following discharge from treatment. When we get out of treatment, we need to have a positive schedule to be following. One positive thing that I can do is go to the gym. Experimenting with setting goals, taking on challenges, it helps us with that. It helps us with interacting with positive people who are doing healthy things. Most of our friends, if you look, I'm always asking people how many people still have drinking or using friends. And a lot of people, and I knew I have 7 friends who still drink, and I'm going to tell them not to do that. When I go, okay, you're going to go, that's the first thing you're going to do is go over and tell them, you shouldn't be drinking, and before you leave, you'll be drunk. And, so this helps us hang out with more positive people. I was going to the other one over there where they had them stamped. There was a guy, big guy, and I couldn't work out with him, but I worked out around him because he was huge. And we were going back down, took our showers and everything, and got dressed, and he started strapping his guns on, and I'm going, okay, big old cop, and I'm going, okay, good to know, so if I meet him downtown, okay, remember me, we used to work out together, remember, don't shoot me, So, interacting with positive people, it helps us to feel productive. A lot of the times I don't feel all that productive. And when I'm over there working out, I'm feeling productive. You know, I'm doing something that's helping me. And it improves your outlook for the future. If I can do this, then I can do this other thing. I can stay in my recovery. All right, questions, comments, or snide remarks?
Snide remark.
Who got a snide
Do
remark?
you swim? Go to the gym?
I do swim, but I don't swim at the gym.
Oh, you
I don't gym swim because I went to the gym to swim at the gym, and I saw Jim swimming at the gym.
Oh, you saw gym.
I saw Jim swimming in the gym, and Jim was doing stuff in the swimming, and I didn't like what Jim was doing, and so I said, I'm not no. So I don't know. Yeah.
What's the definition of snide?
What's the definition of
Snide.
a snide remark? Oh. Well, if you have to ask. What's a snide remark? What's being snide?
Slide remark.
Snide is being rude.
Snide, you said, was being rude?
A snide remark would be Jim doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
So you gave us example of a snide remark, what you just said?
That might be, yeah.
Sarcastic, yeah.
Oh,
Smart ass.
I'm going to tell you.
oh.
I have to look it up. So what is a snide remark? I'm always asking for them. A snide remarks are unkind, sarcastic, subtly insulting comments that criticize someone in an indirect way.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does they have a picture of you on it?
Yeah, I'm kind of the king of snide remarks. I'll be over there, ladies. I don't know if I'll make it today, but I'll come get them. So put them somewhere. And I appreciate y'all. Thank